Good evening, you're watching News Mongolian World. I'm your host, Tanur Gambatar. And for our top stories, citizens to take part in a January consultative poll. Mongolia exported 2.1 million tons of coal in the first half of December. Ambassador D.Gerelmaa presents her credentials to Pope Francis. And for the news, stay tuned. In accordance with the Constitution, a draft parliamentary resolution on conducting consultative polls was approved during last week's Assembly session to ensure citizens' participation in the government affairs. Some members of the public believe that polls are being held to push for changes to the Constitution. Consultative polling refers to the process of collecting opinions from randomly selected citizens before deciding on the matters of public interest.
The purpose of the consultative poll is to identify social and economic problems with the help of citizens, consult with citizens about the prioritization of issues, the way to resolve them, and the decisions to be made, to provide citizens and the public with knowledge and information about emerging issues, and to ensure citizen participation in state affairs as stipulated in Article 3 of the Constitution of Mongolia. The Speaker of the Parliament, Shatar, noted that politicians should identify and consult with the public about solutions, prioritizing and decision-making processes for addressing the country's social and economic problems. Member of Parliament Engbold explained that the work of establishing an advisory council on December 30th was postponed and rescheduled for February 20th of 2023. The consultative poll will be carried out in two phases. Mongolian citizens who are 18 or older will be able to participate in the first phase of polling. The council will approve the number of participants according to methodology approved by the National Statistics Office.
The Cabinet of Mongolia convened and made several decisions. Notably, Mongolia looks to establish the International Financial Center. Details as follows.
The new beltway will connect the road along the Tol River to the Khushuk Valley Airport Highway. Mayor of Ulaanbaatar, Somyabatar, was also tasked with overseeing the completion of the northern part of the beltway within 1 year. The total length of the new beltway will be 83 kilometers. The road around the southern part of the city will be 31 kilometers, while the northern part will be 52 kilometers. Sukhbatar, cabinet member and chairman of the National Committee to Reduce Traffic Congestion in Ulaanbaatar, and Mayor Somyabatar are responsible for overseeing the public transport fleet's renovation before September 2023. During a cabinet meeting, Deputy Prime Minister of Mongolia Amr Sakhan presented the legal framework for establishing an international financial center in Khushuk Valley. Cabinet members decided to prepare a bill on establishing the International Financial Center for further discussion. The government believes that the new International Financial Center in the Khushuk Valley Free Economic Zone would attract investment for major projects in Mongolia. State officials have been regularly presenting cabinet with updates on the implementation of a government resolution on measures to increase foreign exchange reserves. Since October 5, 2022, Erdenstown Talgo JSC, Erdent Mining Corporation, Mongol Rostsvetmet, and Darkhan Metallurgical Plant have transferred $567 million to the Bank of Mongolia as of December 20th. A total of 18,000 vehicles transported around 2.1 million tons of export coal through Qashon-Suhat, Shivekhurum, Bolgan, Hang, Zamiut, and Bichuk ports. In the first half of this month, the number of vehicles processed increased by 15% and the volume of coal transported increased by 9.5% compared to the November daily average.
Now let's take a look at Mongolia's current affairs.
The ambassador of Mongolia to the Holy See, Her Excellency D.Gerelmaa, presented her credentials to His Holiness Pope Francis on December 15th of 2022. Ambassador D.Gerelmaa was also received by the Secretary of State of the Holy See, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, and the substitute for the Secretariat of State, Archbishop Edgar Pena-Para, and the Secretary for Relations with States, Archbishop Paul Gallagher. During the meeting, the ambassador stressed that although this year marks the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Mongolia and the Holy See, both states have long-standing historical relations that date back to the 13th century. The sides discussed the possibility of continuing research work on the search for historical facts and sources related to the history of Mongolia in the archives and libraries of the Vatican, to support capacity building of young professionals in the health, education, and humanitarian fields, as well as cooperation on global issues such as climate change, poverty, and humanitarian cooperation. Her Excellency Sayana Tauksurung, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Mongolia to the Republic of Moldova, presented her credentials to Her Excellency Ms. Maya Sandu, President of the Republic of Moldova, on December 15th. Ambassador Sayana conveyed the greetings of His Excellency Mr. Khurelsukhna, President of Mongolia, and highlighted that in 2022, Mongolia and Moldova are celebrating the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries, which serves as a strong impetus to strengthen and expand friendly relations and cooperation in all spheres. The President of Moldova also mentioned the extensive opportunities for further development of the cooperation and relations between the two countries, benefiting the prosperity of the people and in sectors of common interests, and wished the best to the Mongolian ambassador.
Thank you for staying with us. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Here's the international news from our partner agencies. The South Korean government of President Yoon Suk-yeol said Tuesday it will grant a special pardon to ex-president Lee Myung-bak, who was sentenced to a 17-year prison term for a range of corruption crimes.
The Justice Ministry said in a statement that Lee is among 1,373 convicts who will be pardoned on Wednesday. It said it has decided to include some politicians, including Lee, as part of efforts to promote the national unity. Lee, who's 81-year-old, was released from the prison temporarily in June, when prosecutors granted him a temporary release over health concerns. Lee, a CEO-turned-conservative hero before his fall from grace, was convicted of taking bribes from big businesses including Samsung, embezzling funds from a company that he owned, and other corruption-related crimes before and during his presidency from 2008 to 2013. Lee's corruption case erupted after his successor and fellow conservative Park Geun-hye was ousted and sent to jail over a separate 2016 and 2017 corruption scandal. The back-to-back scandals have deeply hurt conservatives in South Korea and deepened a national divide. Park, who is serving a lengthy prison term, was pardoned in December 2021 when South Korea was governed by Yoon's liberal predecessor Moon Jae-in.
The tourism industry was back on track in 2022 after being hammered during the COVID-19 pandemic. Environmentally conscious travelers opted for eco-vacations as they tried to minimize their impact on the natural world.
January 2022 opened with China's stunning Harbin Ice and Snow Festival. This year's edition was dedicated to the Winter Olympics, which took place in China the following month. It spanned 400,000 square meters of ice sculptures and snow landscapes. More than 230,000 cubic meters of ice and snow were needed to build 65 scenes. But for the second time in a row, ice sculpture competitions, ice swimming, and ice weddings were cancelled due to COVID-19. The outlook was brighter in Spain. In Barcelona, a smoking ban on the city's beaches came into force. That didn't put off visitors, with beaches and streets crowded in the peak months of July and August. Local officials said arrivals this summer season were around 15 to 20% down on 2019. That year, 8.5 million people visited. but it was clear that the city's tourism industry was recovering. Vienna was ranked as the most livable city in the world according to British magazine The Economist. The Austrian capital is known for its imperial Habsburg architecture. Its notoriously good infrastructure, especially its affordable public transport links, made the European capital stand out. In Naples, a social cooperator reopened a historic subterranean site. The catacombs of San Gennaro have become a lesser-known gem on the Italian tourist trail. Its frescoes and mosaics were studied and restored. A 240-meter glass bridge spanning the Dashberg Canyon opened in Georgia in June. A diamond-shaped cafe hangs in the middle of the construction, 200 meters above the ground. The transparent walkway gives an unusual view of the lush green trees below. Construction started in 2019 and received $39 million investment from Israeli company Casland. Camel safaris became the latest eco-friendly way to see wildlife in Kenya's national parks. The animals are considered better for the environment as they don't emit noxious fumes or tear up the ground beneath them. Mexico had a creepy treat for tourists who won a fright. A boat trip through the Xochimilco channels south of Mexico City leads to Xochimilco Island, better known as La Isla de las Muñecas or the Island of Dolls. The patch of land has no electricity or running water but is covered with thousands of old dolls. They have made this island their home since 1950, when, according to local folklore, a child fell into the water and drowned. Some claim the island is now haunted by ghostly presence. Brazil's Cape Frio was once a feared site for shipwrecks. Charles Darwin's HMS Beagle spent 3 months correcting its longitude there after a shipwreck. Nowadays, the area has become a hub for high-end tourism. Greenland has a cautionary tale for travelers. It is seeing a climate change-driven travel boost as tourists pack their bags for a glimpse of retreating glaciers and shrinking icebergs. Tourist operators are happily reported a return to pre-pandemic 2019 levels this summer. Scientists say the Arctic is warming 3 times faster than the rest of the planet.
An exhibition about Tintin and his creator, Hergé, is ongoing in Madrid. Visitors can see classic editions of the Belgian comic character, as well as original sketches of some of his adventures.
Tintin's rocket for fans of the 20th century comic is instantly recognizable from his adventure Explorers on the Moon. The fictional intrepid journalist is now more than 90 years old, but he retains his boyish charm as his adventures endure in the 21st century. Tintin has arrived in Madrid with his loyal dog Snowy, Captain Haddock, Professor Calculus, and the detectives Thompson and Thompson. Círculo de Bellas Artes is hosting Hergé, the exhibition dedicated to the creator of the classic character. Visitors can learn about the Belgian cartoonist's creative process, his work in the studio, and how world events shaped his storytelling.
He was very influenced by what was going on in the world. So Tibet was created and Lotus Bleu was created because there were events in those countries, and the Japanese were invading China and the Chinese were invading Tibet, like the Russians are invading Ukraine now. Creators such as himself, you had a table, a design table, you had an ashtray, you had cigarettes, you had a lamp, and you had a pencil or you had a pen, and you just worked. And maybe you had a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and there were no other distractions. You can't do that now. I mean, you're just bombarded by all the news.
For the past 3 decades, Nick Rodwell has been managing the artistic and commercial legacy of Hergé. The Belgian author is considered the father of European comics and a huge figure in the comic book world, both culturally and economically. Hergé's work has been translated into 100 languages, and he has sold more than 250 million copies worldwide of the adventures of his icon Tintin. Tintin series have been admired for their clean, realistic, and expressive drawings, drawing on the theme of politics, history, culture, and technology. Hergé, the exhibition will be at the Círculo de Bellas Artes in Madrid until February 19, 2023.
Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. The inaugural United Cup gets underway on Thursday in the first event of the new tennis season. 18 nations start with mixed teams in Sydney, Perth and Brisbane. We might have a few treats coming our way. After a short Christmas break, some of the world's top stars arrived in Australia for the multi-city event on Tuesday to take part in the new mixed tournament played in a team competition format.
It's going to be my first time. I never even played like mixed doubles, so it's going to be exciting. We're curious about it. I think it's really cool how also the format, like there are two singles, one guy and one girl that is playing the first day, and then you can get used to it. And yeah, it's just different, but I think it's going to be really cool.
18 countries made up to 4 men and 4 women will face off to be crowned the inaugural champions. Countries have been split into 6 pools of 3 teams across 3 cities. Teams will play 5 matches per tie, 2 men's singles, 2 women's singles and 1 mixed double match in the round-robin stage. The winners of each group will face the other group winners in the city in the quarterfinals. The champions from each city, along with the best-ranked losing team, will head to Sydney to compete in the semi-finals and the final. Dutch club PSV Eindhoven have confirmed that Liverpool have agreed to sign Dutch striker Cody Gakpo. The 23-year-old had an impressive World Cup for his country, scoring 3 goals as they reached the quarterfinals. The Liverpool has agreed to sign forward Cody Gakpo, one of the most coveted young players in Europe, from PSV Eindhoven, the Eredivisie club, said on Monday. Gakpo, aged 23, impressed for the Netherlands at the World Cup in Qatar, scoring 3 goals as the Dutch reached the quarterfinals. The clubs did not disclose a transfer fee, but British media reported it was around 40 to 50 million euros. At the World Cup, Liverpool defender and Netherlands captain Virgil van Dijk was full of praise for his teammate. Liverpool's forward options are limited, with Luis Diaz and Diego Jota facing lengthy spells on the sidelines due to the injury. Gakpo had been heavily linked with a move to Manchester United, but Liverpool appears to have fought off competition for the talented forward. Here's the weather forecast of world's major cities. Well, that's all for today, and thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.